Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Productions channel here at YouTube, and welcome to another Album of the Week video. This is episode number 194. Today, I will be focusing on a rather obscure Portuguese death thrash metal album. It is Darkside, the 1993 debut full-length from Sacred Sin. First released through the Música Alternativa label, then re-released with a newer mix and featuring a live EP as bonus tracks in 1994. So without further ado, let's begin. Since you are probably not that familiar with Sacred Sin, they are based out of Sintra, Lisbon, Portugal. Formed in 1991, and in the month of October of that same year, they released their first promotional demo. Then in 1992, they released their first EP titled The Shades Behind through the short-lived Slime Records label. Then finally in 1993, they released their debut full-length album, Darkside. So, Darkside consists a total of 12 tracks and clocks in at around 40 minutes. These 12 tracks are, well, it begins with the title track, In the Veins of Rotting Flesh, Ode to My Crucifying Lord, Deliverance, The Chapel of the Lost Souls, Requiem for Mankind, Gravestone Without Name, Suffocating Torment, Life/A Process Revealed, Terminal Collapse, A Monastery in Darkness, and then The Shades Behind. So there you go. There's your 12 tracks. I'm not quite at all familiar with this band's discography, but this album and their EP is all that I know of. I was first introduced to this underground classic many years ago by my brother, who owns the 1994 remix/remaster that Música Alternativa released in 1994. I know I'm probably butchering that, but whatever. Fuck it. Which just cleaned up the sound mix. The original mix was pretty muddy and lacked clarity, which the remix here fixed, making the songs pop out. So my thoughts for this are based off of my impressions of the 1994 remix. All I gotta say is, this is a very cool album nonetheless. I wish this album would get more exposure. It has a nice blend of fast aggressive paced rhythms and slow breaks that gives the songs a greater atmosphere. Again, it just even extra breathing to them. It's just a great combination of death metal a la Morbid Angel, Pestilence, and even Nocturnus. I mean, check out In the Veins of Rotting Flesh. It begins with a spacey synth intro before breaking into one crushing machine that is blanketed in atmosphere. Again, that's where I get the Nocturnus vibes. And of course, it combined with thrash metal a la Sepultura and Sarcophago, mostly the Laws of Scourge record. The title track, which actually has a music video and was once aired on MTV as part of Headbangers Ball, probably in the South American or even the European circuit. It's just jam-packed with aggression and spacey-like atmosphere, really honing in on that Nocturnus vibe like I've been mentioning. It even goes further with this in a bone-crunching track like Ode to My Crucifying Lord, where I'm really reminded of Morbid Angel a la Blessed Are the Sick. But this album experiments with being progressive, just like, for an example, Ode to My Crucifying Lord, Deliverance, and The Chapel of Lost Souls, with Deliverance actually, I should mention, is the shortest song on the album. It basically just clocks in at 59 seconds, just barely under 1 minute. If combined into one track, it makes one sick 7-minute behemoth. It's a trilogy of ass kickers. I also dig the second trilogy that this album has to offer. I'm referring to Gravestone Without Name, Suffocating Torment, and Life/A Process Revealed. Gravestone Without Name just begins all ablaze, but slows down in the middle, which sets a cool space-like mood that is peppered with some great technical musicianship and some shredding solos that has some emotion to them. Then, when it bleeds into Suffocating Torment, which is the second part of this trilogy, it starts off with a synth sound that's kind of taken from like a sci-fi horror film from around this time period. But this lasts for a short span of time before unloading into another wall banger. Then Life/A Process Revealed caps off this trilogy in unrelenting fashion. This 3-part 11-minute trilogy pieces in a story-like concept. It's absolutely awesome. There are just so many good tracks to be found on this album. Sacred Sin on here are like a more progressive, technical version of Sarcophago. Just a great blend of death metal and thrash metal with atmospheric density that is compared to the likes of Nocturnus, which again is probably one of the main band for some reason that I just seem to really tend to compare the Sacred Sin to. I mean, it's kind of obvious given some of the synths and everything that they're kind of adding into it to kind of give it some of that atmosphere like I've been going on about. To also cap off this already badass album, I have to point to the cool cover art, painted by the late great H.R. Geiger in 1975. It is named Chittergrun, the Crucified Serpent. It's just another layer to the already cool as fuck music. It really does enhance the experience that this album creates. Now, after this, Sacred Sin would go on to record a second album in 1995 titled I Am God, which is I am, literally the letter M, then God. Then the band would return in 1999 with their third album, Anguish I Harvest. Then Translucid Dream Mirror in 2001. Then finally, Hecaton, hope I'm pronounced that correctly, the return to Primordial Chaos in 2003. If you take all of the first letters of all these 5 albums, I mean the initial first letters, it spells out death. Kind of clever, actually. The band would not release another full-length album until a decade later. They did release an EP in 2009 titled Dawn Over Desolation, which features a cover of Morbid Angel's Abominations. Unfortunately, they would break up in 2011, but in 2013, they would reform, and in 2017, they would return with their 6th full-length album titled Grotesque Destructo Art. In 2020, they would release their 3rd EP titled Born, Suffer, Die. Then finally last year, they released their 7th album titled Storms Over the Dying World. If you are one of those who has listened to this great album, again, if your thoughts are either positive or negative, you can leave them in the comments section below. But if you're one who is obviously not familiar with this album, or Sacred Sin for that matter, do so. This is a great album if you're a fan of Morbid Angel, Sepultura, Sarcophago, and Nocturnus, and even Pestilence. Then I can't see you not liking this album. Again, if you're fans of those bands. I mean, come on. So, this is Heavy Thrash saying I am out, and I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.